Welcome to the White Lotus channel. Thanks for being here. Match 2, Game 1, unknown opponent, league play. Let's go. Opening hand, it's a one-lander, but we've got we've got 3 turns to draw a land. We're going to keep it. Plenty of action if we get there. He leads with Rustvale Bridge. I don't know if this is going to be Boro Synth or what he's playing, but we just picked up another 1-drop. So we'll see where we are. Helps to know what he's playing. We just don't know yet. Now we know. Jeskai Ephemerate. This is the thing about Darkburn. If you're not playing against a deck that's gaining life, that's the deck's Achilles heel. If you are decks that have a lot of life gain to it, it's extremely difficult to win. Decks that don't, I'll take the matchup. It's great against Burn. I'm fine against Affinity. Game 1 against Jeskai Ephemerate should be fine, depending on what their sideboard is. Could be a different story, but we'll go with what we've got. I'm pretty happy about that so far. Land would be nice. There it is. We could have sacked and drew cards here or did some other things, but we're going to set that up for other turns. Tyrant's Choice doing 4 damage. I want it to get through. I don't want it to get countered. It's that important to close the game out, so we'll go with it. It takes them a while to close the game out. And with what we've got in our hand, pretty confident that this game is ours. He found Counterspell off the Ephemerate when he bounced Bolus. I'm not sacking the cat here, right? Like if anything with Deadly Dispute, we want to sack it on Serrated Scorpion. Bolus can block Scorpion all day and vice versa, but we've got to get it to the graveyard. Typically in a combat situation, you're going to block the creature that's going to die or something like that. But we really need Daily Dispute on the Serrated Scorpion, which is going to, no matter what, even if he counters Deadly Dispute, Serrated Scorpion still is sacrificed because it's part of the casting cost. So we're just going to go with it. So see where we end up. Pretty confident, though, where we are. We've got 1 counter spell to go through, which is probably going to be on Deadly Dispute. But we still get 2 off of that. So again, it's just a math game. We've got 4, 3, and 3. Got 10? Plus 2 is 12. He's at 9. So as long as he doesn't gain life, we should be able to get there. We just have to fight through at least 1 counter spell, maybe more. Yep. Pressure certainly on the opponent. Get 1 more life in off the cat. Sure. So now we only need to do 2. It's another counter spell in the graveyard, which I think is 2 in the graveyard. Yep. 2 counter spells in the graveyard. Pressures on the opponent. I assume one of these may be countered again, which is okay, but can he counter them both? I don't think so. I'm not real fond of killing the cat. And here's why. When he kills the cat is not getting through. It's not going to attack. It's not going to do anything. The cat is only a threat to you once it's now back in the graveyard. So if you're the opponent, what do I have to draw that can bring the cat back and do another point of damage? Gingerbrute, Lembas, those are those 2 things. If I'm him, I just leave the cat alone. You can block it or whatever it is that you want to do. It's not a threat while it's on the field, but he's scredded it, which is interesting. Now drawing Gingerbrute, this is fantastic because we can, if we get through unblockable, He could scred it, which we could bring the cat back in response that does one, but only one. But if it gets through unblocked, he has to beat the cat and the sovereign's bite. So even if he has 2 counter spells in hand, he still has to deal with Ginger Brute. I don't believe he can. Which he counters, and that's fine. We sack the cat. We sack Ginger Brute to the cat, win the game. Again, if you're up against a deck that's not gaining life and just kind of putting it out of reach, the matchups are very favorable. It's when they gain life that life gets difficult. Let's go to game 2. Match 2, game 2 against Jeskai Ephemerate. It's a good opening hand. It's not the best. I'd rather have 2 lands and then another burn spell, but we've got to turn 1 play. The cat, draw some cards, a burn spell. Let's go with it. We're playing Okiba 1 because you can't spell. I don't know if they're running Spell Pierce or what they've got. We know they have Counter Spell, but you can't spell clear. You can spell pierce Okiba, but not Ginger Brute. Again, we want to get that 4 damage in and not have it countered. He's not on red yet, which is good. He can't Cleansing Wildfire, which is fine. Ginger Brute can get in unblocked and not get burned. So it feels pretty good at the moment. So depending on what he has, right, we still have to get the damage done. We know that Nuzumi, counterspell he just found. Nuzumi's going to get blocked. We can't really attack. We can attack with Ginger Brute, unblocked if we have to block with a cat or get it sacked and then sack it back. So there's a couple points of damage, but again, I say it a lot, it's a math game. We've got 3 in hand, off Sovereign's Bite, and we're just going to keep attacking for 2 until it can be dealt with. And depending on a sideboard, we got to hope that they don't gain life. Because if they do, it gets very difficult. And we just keep swinging. Now we're just trying to get as much damage in as we can. Sure. So now at this point, it's 2 off Ginger Brute, 3 off Sovereign's Bite, so we just need 1 more, which Scorpion can do if we sack it to Deadly Dispute. But we're going for essentially exacts. We need some cards now. That's great for us. I'd rather sack the Scorpion to it, as we talked about earlier. And then there it is, right? You go Light of Hope, which they brought in out of the side. And it's just every time the opponent gains life, it's costing you cards. So it's virtual card advantage that we talked about. And look at the difference now. So we have Union of the Third Path and Light of Hope, which it's very, very hard to recover from. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. It's matchup dependent. Darkburn can come into the tournament and face a bunch of red decks, Affinity, things like that. And it's going to do great. Playing against Burn it's almost a buy when you play with Darkburn because of that virtual advantage, that spread advantage. But other decks that are just gaining life, like gaining 6 to 8 life, if they're putting pressure on you, can sometimes just put the game out of reach, as you see happening here. He's got a full grip of cards, probably flashback, life gain out of the graveyard. He's in full control. We're going to speed it up now. There's not a whole lot to do here because we'll get on to game 3. He just Light of Hope again. I'm out of cards. He's got a full grip. Here comes the pressure. There's just not a lot we can do at this point. It's unfortunate, but if you look at the clock, he's at 11:30. I'm at 13:25. I'll comment on this at the end of the match about the clock. He's got 16 cards left. Fairy Macabre, which we brought in out of the sideboard, came in late. Would have liked it earlier. I'm not sure if it's that great in the matchup, but getting the flashbacks, Light of Hope, Union of the Third Path, being able to bounce it back or flash it back. I don't know where Archaeomancer is right now, but was expecting that. Another Light of Hope. It's just impossible. Right now, the clock's in our favor. It's 1-1 at the end of this game. And then we'll go on to game 3 and see what happens. Match 2, game 3. Double Ginger Brute and Scorpion. Alms of the Vein. It's good enough. Gonna run with it. Triple Ginger Brute. Like they're slow to get a board presence. Yeah, I'll take Triple Ginger Brute and just gamble with it. I mean, depending on how they develop their board, you almost may not need a burn spell. I'll certainly take another one. But it's 4 damage. Like, it's feeling pretty good. We know Light of Hope costs 1, so they'll gain 4 off that if they play it. Yep. And I know it's redundant, but gaining life against Dark Burn is such an Achilles heel. And here's the problem that you run into. So, like I said previously, Dark Burn is really, for me, in my experience, extremely strong against Burn, very strong against Affinity, pretty strong against Boros. That's a tougher matchup of those 3. But if you're going into a meta expecting to face Burn at least once, maybe twice, since it makes up 20% of the meta, when your opponents are also preparing to face Burn, which is what Dark Burn is, it's just a different approach, not quite as explosive, can win on turn 5 or 6, not really a turn 3-4 deck. But you're going to catch the splash damage from decks that are preparing to gain life against mono red decks. And if your matchups don't go according to plan, if you don't get 1 or 2 decks against red and you're playing against a bunch of other decks that are packing as much life gain as possible, it's going to make your matchups harder. So from a meta call perspective, if you get lucky and get the right matchups, it's good. We're up 1 match, but again, we got the time in our favor. It's 7:48 for us, 5:54 for them. And he makes a comment. I'll just talk about it now while the game is playing. He makes a comment at the end of the match. Nice try trying to time me out. Let me just say this. I don't know who he is. I really don't give a shit, or anybody, or for anybody else at that matter. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm here to win the match. You play to win the game. Now, for me personally, if you're running an infinite combo deck, once you assemble your combo and demonstrate it one time that you're going infinite, cool, I'm going to scoop to you. I'm not going to make you click. But if you're going to play something dirtily, or decks that are difficult to or take a long time to close the game out, especially when it takes multiple turns to get that done, I'm not scooping to you, dude. You brought that deck here knowing that you might be up against the clock. What am I supposed to do? Just sit here and say, oh, nice, you're ahead now. Look, you're gaining life. Good for you. I'll scoop now. No, I'm not. You have to fucking earn this shit. Again, if it's infinite combo, I'll go ahead and scoop to you. But if you're just looping and playing a bunch of spells per turn and seeing how long things take, we're at turn 10 now and you've only got 3 damage on the field and you got 29 damage to do, I'm not scooping to you. I mean, that's just stupid. But yeah, I mean, the response of, nice trying to time me out. Of course I'm going to try to time you out. If it's going to take you that long to win the game, do you really got to play all these spells right now? Do you have to play Union of the Third Path, another ephemerate, and all that other stuff and just waste time? Not really. But that's just my take on it. If other people don't play that way, that's fine. You do what you want. But if I'm playing in a league and I'm playing to win, I'm playing to win. Ethically. But yeah, I'm going to make you go through as many clicks as possible. Again, if you're infinite combo, like infinite life, infinite tokens, things like that, once you assemble it, cool. I'll scoop. Good job. Well played. But you're playing a deck that takes a long time to close a game out. I'm not going to scoop to you. I don't care if you like it or don't like it. Hats off to the opponent who does win this. There's nothing I can do about it at this point. He played well, great. There's a couple of turns I don't think he needs to play spells and should just focus on getting out of here. There's Darkburn is not doing it's not like Flame Breather decks that can do 18 points of damage in a turn. It just takes time. And they had the life gain, put us out of reach, and he ends up winning the match. There's not really a lot to see here other than just the rest of the game, which is not long. We're at turn 14. Why would I scoop to a deck that takes 14, 15, 16 turns? No, I'm not scooping. If you can't get it done, that's on you, not me. Like, there's not even a point to counterspell Okiba. It's going to do 2 points of damage by the time the game is over. There's no point to even play another Augur or Bolus. I mean, you've got the win. You've got, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 in the air, plus 10, it's a 2-turn clock. There's no point to risk it. But that's what you chose to do. It's fine. So that's my thoughts on Darkburn. It's got good matchups against a lot of decks. It does not have good matchups against decks that bring in. It doesn't even take a lot of life gain. It can just be 6, 8, 10, 12 life, and it's much, much harder for that deck to close out. As you saw in game 1, was relatively easy. Game 2 and 3 was a struggle based on the sideboard that he brought in. So, thanks for being here. Tomorrow, match 3.